Hey guys, welcome back to the Shepherd's Crook podcast. Hope you are all doing well today. We are back with a great conversation. Really looking forward to catching up with my buddy Adam Ray and catch up on what's going on in his life and his ministry world and hunting world and a little bit of family world as well. We'll catch up with him. If you are new to the show, we got to talk to him about, I don't know, a year ago at this point. But first, before we introduce him again, I want to remind you of a few things. If you want to come to the Shepherd's Crook Intensive, we are really ramping that up. We're really excited about this year in Jack Fork River in Eminence, Missouri. We have A.D. Robles coming to be the speaker, and also Matt Reynolds is going to be there to do a breakout, and it's just going to be a great time. So if you want to spend a couple days on the river and be challenged, we're going to have an actual strongman competition, and that's going to be neat, lifting Atlas stones, and we're going to have an official arm wrestling table for those that want to rip their arm and their shoulder up and go get surgery. So it's going to be a great time, and would love for you to be a part of that. Reach out to me. We're going to be talking about fatherhood. We're going to be talking about life in Christ and being, physically challenged along the way as well. There's a great camaraderie about this trip. Would love for you to come. Shepherd's Creek Intensive, reach out to me. Would love you to be there. Also, Sons and Slaves podcast. We're raising sons into men. Me and my boys are doing a great, I'm thinking they're doing a great thing with this show. They're my co-host, and just hitting the ball out of the park with being co-host with me. It's been so much fun having these really just natural conversations about boyhood and lessons about life. And as they're growing up, it's just been a great time seeing Ransom is now 9 and Valor is now 6. And we want to encourage you to check that out if you haven't checked that out yet. And then also Fruitful and Fearless that you know about with Jordan and the ladies that she talks to. Okay. We're talking to Adam Ray today. Adam, how's it going, brother?
It's going well, my friend.
Good deal. Well, let's pray and then let's have some fun catching up.
Sounds good.
Father, we thank you for this time. I thank you for all you're doing in our life. Thank you for Adam, for what's going on with hunting the harvest and just with his transitions in life. I'm excited to hear about with new ministry and all of that. And even with Yukon River Knives. So just thank you for the blessing it's on his life and his family. And it's just fun peeking in on the internet to see what's going on with them. And it just seems like there just a lot of great things going on. So just bless this conversation. I trust you're going to. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, brother. I'm excited to talk to you. So bring me up to speed. You just said you had a ministry transition. So tell everybody about that. And I'm eager to hear.
Yeah. So about back in June, um, I'll kind of even start a little bit before that. My wife and I, I've been in student ministry in some aspect for 24 years, and begin to just not really age specific, but just more of a heart transition from being plugged into that space and knowing God was leading us elsewhere. And so we started praying on that we decided that we would pray from January to June, and just ask God for clarity if He wanted us to stay where we were at, stay plugged in that student ministry slot, or if He would give us direction. And I was actually at a sports camp coaching archery, and the speakers for that camp are the pastors of the church that I'm now the executive pastor at.
Very cool.
And we just hit it off. We had a phenomenal time. And then the last day of that camp, John Ramilia, the lead pastor here at the Tab, he was like, "Hey, have you ever considered being an XP? We think you'd be phenomenal in that role in our spot and at our church." So the interesting part of that is that was the last day of June. So
wow.
it's just that prayer piece. And so we prayed about it a lot through the fall, just talking consistently about what that would look like, what vision I would have for the leadership position here and direction. And it ended up being just the right fit as things came into December, and contract stuff was offered. And then we began our time here was January 15th.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
It's been a great few weeks here, just getting to know people and starting to put some things into place, but definitely a different role. It's the first time in 20 some years that haven't been prepping for teaching kids in junior high and senior high,
Yeah,
and
it's different.
and all the things. So totally different environment, but we're loving it.
Awesome. Now, how far, like proximity wise, how far was from the place you were to the place you are now?
About 35 minutes
So that
drive.
didn't require a move, or did it require a move?
No.
No.
Yeah, not require a move. We actually are about 20 minutes closer to this church where we live.
Oh, okay.
So it was a blessing all the way around.
Now, I was trying to figure it out, but it seemed like the previous church you were part of was a pretty large congregation. Is that the case with this one as well?
Yeah, they're two campuses and just opening a third campus February 5th or February 18th, about 1,200 in the campus here. And
Okay.
then Manistee campus is 340, 350, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Anticipate the Cadillac campus growing pretty rapidly as well, just filling some niches there that are not being met with gospel preaching churches. So
Okay. Gotcha. Now, are you, what was it about you? Are you the X's and O's guy, the guy that is administration, you're the admin guy, administrationally gifted that occasionally wants to preach, or are you more the preacher that's just good with admin? How is it that they thought, Adam would be a good guy for this?
yeah, I would say um, it's an interesting component because the admin piece of it is something that I have a vision for. Like I see the areas that need to be connected and how it will benefit the way that we care for people, especially in a larger congregation. Yet I hate the nitty gritty of sitting down and knocking out all the admin
Oh, heck
responsibilities.
yeah.
So as we were even contemplating this move, they're like, well, we've got a guy that will be that's a gift of his, and he'll be your main right hand man. And it's been just a blessing already in these 3 weeks.
Mm,
As I'm communicating where I think we should go with something, he's already in the weeds of rocking out the resources to be able to put it together. And so it's been fun to see God just kind of nitpick a perfect space for us. And then I'll
yeah.
be preaching frequently on the schedule as well.
Okay.
I would say, like, if we talked about specific giftings, I love people and I love
Hmm.
being around people and I love walking through life with people, men specifically, and that just that draw to this place. Buckley is like a more of a farming community,
Okay.
and it's a one stoplight town, and so to have a church blown up to the size that this one is just a miracle in this
Mm,
space. But a lot of outdoorsmen, outdoors women, a lot of people just grinding through life, and it's been fun to begin building some relationships there. So
nice. Mitch Rampala at the church yet?
he's not yet, not yet.
Okay.
He's down the
Hopefully.
road. So we'll
Yeah,
keep
he,
working on
he's he's still kicking up there, isn't he? He's still living,
it.
isn't
He
he?
is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He's got to be old now.
He's mid 70s.
Okay, gotcha. So it burned up in a fire, didn't it? The
That's the
Rampala
word.
do.
Yes.
That's the rumor. Okay. So
Yep.
I know we talked a little bit about that last time. So if
Yep.
you're interested in that, go back to the last episode that we were with where we were talking here. Now it's hunting the harvest, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay. How's the ministry going? How's that side of things?
It is going phenomenal. So we at the church that I was at previously, there just was not a lot of extra space for that to see any real growth. So we did some camps and a lot of wild game dinners, some online stuff, but nothing to the extent that the dream has been. And this last year in November, I was in Illinois, had an opportunity to spend a week with a guy from Traverse City that was actually in my church. Neither of us knew that we were going to be on that hunt together in Illinois. We both just showed up.
Where at in Illinois?
We were in. It's a great question. It would be. Well, I should nail this down. It might be near you. We
Yeah.
were. Let me think of a town that we were close to. Um, it would be southwest corner of Illinois.
You were in
Kind
Alexander County, kind of close to Cape Girardeau,
of
Carbondale.
Hamilton County, White
Okay.
County.
Yeah, Hamilton, White County. Yeah, that's okay. So that's a little bit trying to think. It's not far from us. That's 45 minutes from us or so.
Okay,
So you
cool.
probably took 57 right down from Chicago, 57 all the way down through the middle of the state.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's close. We're good deer down here. I mean, not probably not as big as up in Michigan, but
No,
some good
better
deer.
better down in Illinois than up here.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, we saw some monsters down there. But
Nice. Heck yeah.
um, but we were sitting in this little country church Sunday morning, getting ready for the hunt for the week, and a couple of us were just doing different things in the service, and we hosted a archery camp with Kicking Bear Archery after the main service. And so a lot of people from community there and everything. And I'm just sitting in a pew, and the older gentleman's up there with his banjo leading the service. And this guy comes and sits down next to me, and I can feel his presence there, but I was trying not to be awkward and just give him a big look. And then all of a sudden he just elbows me, and I look over, and it's a guy in my church.
Okay.
So neither of us knew that we were going to be there, but we ended up getting the opportunity to just spend the week together. We hunted the same piece of property together, and through that time frame, I started sharing about hunting the harvest, different dreams that we had, and God is utilizing him massively in that space to help some of that stuff come to fruition. So we're doing our first hunting the harvest hosted hunt. It's a snow goose hunt in Arkansas coming up February 20th through the 22nd.
Great.
And the dream of those is to take solid Christian men, and then have them have the capability of inviting somebody with them that doesn't know the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
and just bringing them into our kind of inner circle, hunt together, share, challenge each other, and just give space for some of those spiritual conversations that are difficult sometimes outside of that context, or obviously they're not breaking down the doors of our church either to get in. So
Right.
so we'll be trying to host 6 to 10 of those a year,
Great.
different hunts, different types of fishing trips, and then the video, social media presence is just going to ramp up to a different space where we can get the podcasting piece in there and those elements as well. So
Okay. Very cool. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on is we've got a mutual friend, Jeremy Morris. I was talking to him behind the scenes. He said that he's kind of transitioned in the work of Yukon River Knives, and a lot of that work that he was doing has gone to you.
yeah,
And I really appreciate Ron Stepp. I've not actually got to talk with him, but everything that Jeremy was doing, I've got a couple Yukon River Knives, and I've tried to point people in that direction. And really,
yeah,
in fact, we should talk about running another ad, just because I'd like to keep promoting you guys. But
yeah.
bring us up to speed then. So, what's your new role with Yukon River Knives, and what's going on with that?
Yeah. So Jeremy's space was kind of co-owner space, and we've stepped right into that role. We're building out the um, uh, you know just getting all the online presence kind of updated and the connection pieces there, getting um, the ability for somebody to order a knife and do it with simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the interesting pieces behind the scenes that people don't recognize is that when you're selling a knife or trying to sell a knife, a lot of the normal functions like Square and those different things that you would utilize to get the payment for a knife, they consider that a weapon. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're not allowed to use some of those sources, or at least you have to be a little bit more covert in what you're selling. Sporting goods is what we're selling.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on some of those pieces, getting social media presence updated. We're also we've got a couple of local brick and mortar stores that are going to start carrying the knives,
Oh, great.
and they're excited about the mission of Yukon River Knives, and happy to help in that space as well. So we're boots on the ground right now, just meeting people, talking to them about the knife, communicating, and the big shift presence wise to having merchandise and all those different things as well with some new logo work will be in the middle of March.
Good.
We're looking forward to launching all of that. We have Ron and Ron Stepp, and then the designer Owen Baker are coming up here to Michigan to the
Awesome.
White River Knives where they're made, and we'll spend some time with those guys there in Fremont, Michigan, and just kind of talk through vision and direction, and
Love it.
share some ideas, and we'll go from there.
So, what happens if the missionary, Roach, leaves the Yukon region? Is your commitment as a company to continue to invest in those areas in that region up there in the Yukon?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know the Roach family yet. I'll meet them in late May. Um, I've we've had some social media interactions, but more, obviously their family is near and dear to Ron's heart, and Jeremy's grown to love that family dearly as
Yeah.
well. One really interesting connection. And I didn't even know this till last week. I called Ron specifically when I figured it out. Daniel Baker, that is Owen Baker's son and the knife designer, and he is also married to, or Daniel Baker's sister is married to John Roach, Josh Roach.
Oh, wow.
So, but Daniel
Wild.
Baker and I went to school together back in the
Uh,
day.
man,
So,
that's cool.
so a cool piece there as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. So I've seen some of the logo work that you're working on. Great stuff.
Mhm.
Really excited about that. And as soon as you guys get hats, I'm going to be ordering and picking up a hat so I can
Great.
rock that on the show here. And
I like
I'm
it.
rocking my brother-in-law's hat right now. He's got a he builds trucks and does some amazing
Great.
things with square bodies and is really good. So I'm rocking his hat right now. So I'll have to get some Yukon River swag.
No
Um,
question.
yeah, okay. So let's again kind of turn the corner. Let's talk about hunting season. How'd it go for you? It looks like just from the pictures, and I also want to hear about your son that really loves to hunt because we talked a little bit about him last time.
Yeah.
And just tell us how things went this year. It looks like you got a couple trips and what was some of the highlights.
Yeah. So we had an opportunity this past year to go to Shepherd, Michigan, downstate, starting back in August, and be participate in a doe management hunt, which ended up being like white-tailed deer hunting meeting arcades. It was all the deer come out in the field, and I have a rifle, and I'm just sitting there just picking off deer.
Oh
Which
man,
got our we take all of that, quarter it together, cube it, can it, and create our warehouse, our storehouse for the year out of the wild game and fish and stuff that we catch. And so we started then, and then my daughter Addie went with me. She's 16, and she killed her first buck
oh
this
good for
year
her.
in her youth season. And then I killed a doe with my bow, and then I killed a buck in Illinois, a big 8 pointer, and then a buck in 2 bucks in Michigan, but one on our property toward the end of the season. That was a 6.5-year-old buck we'd watched for years
Good for you.
with bow as well.
Nice.
So some pretty cool. Just the different year we didn't travel a ton other than to Illinois,
Yeah,
um, but we've got a lot of traveling coming up this year. So
cool. And I'm wondering why. I always thought the further north you went, the bigger the deer got. I went to northern Minnesota a couple years ago, and I saw a 300-pound doe that was estimated. I mean, it's just massive. I mean, probably 5.5, 6-year-old deer, just huge. But they're bigger from where you're at to here. They're bigger down here in Illinois than where you're at. Is that
yeah,
right? You said?
yeah.
Huh.
Our area is it's kind of the culture behind Michigan hunting is that every hunter can go in and buy 2 buck tags. And there's not a lot of restrictions. Like they'll have an APR, antler point restriction on a deer. It'll be like 3 to 4 points on a side, depending on what county you're in, before you're allowed to shoot them. And that's really the only management tool that's there. Which, if you know anything about white-tailed deer, their first year they can have 8 points just as
Hmm.
easy as anywhere else. So a lot of our young deer get killed, and it's very rare to have a deer. If a guy shoots a 3.5-year-old, it's pretty rare.
Hmm.
That culture is shifting to where guys aren't just heading up north and shooting the first thing that moves.
Okay.
One little piece that I haven't decided if it's been helpful or not yet. The DNR is allowing guys to kill does on state land without like a special draw application to get the doe tag.
Okay.
They can use one of their buck tags to shoot that doe, which I think helps a little bit. Our preference obviously is if you need a deer for meat, just shoot a doe, and then
Hmm.
to be particular about shooting the older age whitetail bucks, which allows them a chance to grow, but also is better habitat wise and
Hmm.
conservation wise long term.
Yeah.
And so that's but the culture has not been good in Michigan. Some of the southern states with a lot of farm and ag fields, they're seeing some giants coming out of those some southern counties. I mean, they're seeing some giants come out of there. But overall, we have generally in the north of northern Michigan, we have pretty small deer that are
Hmm.
killed. I think the average whitetail buck that was killed last year was something in the 96, 97 inch range.
Oh, really?
Um, and so, Illinois, in the area that we were at least the guys that were there, they said the average is somewhere in the 130s,
Yeah.
um, which is just overall, like while I was hunting there, I mean, every day I saw a buck that I would happily kill in Michigan,
Okay. Gotcha.
that I knew was a younger age class there, and you just let them walk. But
Hmm.
uh, so that's kind of been the culture that's shifting, thankfully. Our property, we own 40 acres. We do a lot of we have goats and ducks and chickens and all the stuff.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
is um, we try to provide all those things for ourselves and teach the kids how to. And but our property, we've been able to put a lot of food in, and we're developing better habitat all the time. We're 4 years in on that project, and so we're starting to see some deer that are living literally on our property.
That's
So
great.
through it's pretty fun.
Yeah, heck yeah. We had a different year this year because my son is 9 and we got a crossbow and we've been trying to get him one. And so he we missed on quite a few this year. And we went out and my focus this year was to get him a deer. And so I hunted less for myself. There's limitations. We just had a baby November the 8th. We had our little boy on November the 8th, which is for us, that's right in the middle of the rut. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's prime hunting here. And so just the season was different. It was just limited. But I still was able to get out and I'm only 5 years into bow hunting or 4 years into bow hunting. And I've still got some major buck fever apparently because I had an opportunity on two really nice 4.5 to 5.5 year old deer that were just really nice deer. And I just missed. I wish I had a good excuse. I just panicked and I didn't feel like I was panicking, but afterwards I was like, what in the world just happened? And I just missed. And so this year was kind of I did get it just during gun season. I got a doe, but it was a different year. I didn't get one with my bow this year, and it's just kind of is what it is. It was a little bit disappointing, but lessons learned. You kind of tuck those away and just learn some lessons and
Absolutely.
realize I'm going to practice more this next year
Yeah.
and get those
One of the
nerves under control.
Yeah, I think one of the things though that's so important is like your experience with buck fever is like I hope that never goes away. We learn to control and adapt to where like I'll have a moment on every deer that walks out when I'm at full draw that I literally feel like my mind just goes blank. Like I'm not settling a pin on a spot on the side of that deer. I'm literally starting to look for the trigger to punch it as soon as that pin settles in on the brown of the deer.
Hmm.
And I have three things written on my bow: deep breath, release, pick a spot.
Gotcha.
And so my idea is I'm taking the deep breath, just like any rifle hunter. I'm releasing that breath halfway out, and then I'm picking a spot that whole time. And when I get myself to like re-engage my brain and get over the buck fever, then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I'm in control, and I settle that pin, touch the trigger off, and then buck fever obviously happens. Then the whole
Yeah.
body shakes and the adrenaline rush and all those things. So
So that never goes
uh,
away, huh?
no, I don't say this. Uh, I pray no arrogance or boastfulness comes through in this, but I killed my 85th deer with a bow this year,
Nice.
and my brain did the same thing that it did the second and third deer with a bow.
Wow.
So it's and that's part of why we love it.
Yeah,
So
heck yeah. So what bow did you shoot this year?
so I'm shooting for bear archery the last 3 years.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Shooting the bear
Okay.
execute 32
Okay.
is one of their new flagships. They've come out with a new bow this year to 2024 called the Persist, which I'm
Hmm.
planning to shoot. But the bear archery has kind of gone through I mean, it's hard to describe. Like they were the thing back in the Fred Bear era and
Hmm.
all
Right.
all the innovations that they had. And then when they got into the compound world, that their excellence kind of waned. And through the years, like if you heard somebody shooting a bear bow, like my brain would automatically be just like, huh, that's not a good bow. Like you
Yeah,
shouldn't
right.
probably.
Beginner bow.
Yep. And yet the very first bow that I ever hunted with as a kid was a bear bow. No sights, no peep sight, anything, just flinging arrows, and had some hilarious moments in the woods of aiming at the kill zone on a whitetail and hitting it in the back end, but just
Hmm.
clipping an artery, and the deer dies. But now over these past 4 or 5 years, the innovations in that bear archery world have gotten to a spot now that they're competing, I think, with the top flagship bows.
Yeah.
This bow is just a touch heavier than what some of the other bows are. Yet I shoot.
How many pounds?
Um,
Four.
I would say I'd have to look it up to be specific, but it's
Hmm.
in the upper 4 pound range probably.
Okay.
Um, but I shoot a heavier bow better personally,
Okay.
more stable. Where I noticed that it's heavier is on some of the long hikes
Okay.
um, and spot and stock stuff. But overall, it's been phenomenal, and I shoot really well with it. We have a 100-yard archery range at our house,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to settle at 100 yards and be consistent at that range has like with this bow is totally different than anything I've shot.
That's
So
cool. I shot a
yeah,
Hoyt Carbon Matrix this year, and I just picked it up at Craigslist or Marketplace or something like that.
yeah,
And so it was like a 10 or a 12, or they're 10 through 12 is when that was made. And I liked it, but I have a bear paradox. And, the hunting public guys have been really, I mean, for guys like me over the last 4 or 5 years, the hunting public guys have been getting the bear name out there quite a bit.
oh yeah,
And man, I'm selling my Hoyt because I like my bear better. And I've, it was like $400 and it was ready to hunt. And
yep,
it doesn't draw as much. Like I've got it maxed out, and I wish it could draw a little bit heavier. Like that was the good thing about the not that I'm trying to max out anything, but it's I've got it maxed out and it's only like 65, or it's supposed to go up to 70 pounds. But
yep.
I'm shooting really good with it. And so I'm selling that Hoyt, and I'm just sticking with this bear. And I got my son, one of my sons, I got a bear bow this for Christmas. So I love it.
Sweet.
And we've gone to the Bear Archery Museum over in Springfield, Missouri. And if you've have
Yep.
you ever been to that at
Not yet.
Bass
No.
Pro? Oh man, it's incredible. So that's
Awesome.
great. I didn't know that you had this. So I guess it's a sponsorship, or you just shoot that, or
Yeah,
they just
so we did a hunt for them with one of their videographers, photographers a few years back, and
hmm
out in South Dakota, and they did just all their catalog pics while we were out there. We just would kind of like if the hunting was slow, we'd stop and they'd take pictures of the bows and us drawn and different terrains and things, and that kind of started a partnership with them. And so they're phenomenal with their ambassadors or pro staff or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I get a catalog at the beginning of the year and go through and pick everything I want, and they send it to you. You shoot and rep them for the year. And but the nice thing is, like I've done that for other companies, Bowtech before this one,
Uh-huh.
um, and you send them thousands of pictures through the year, post about them all the time, but you never hear anything from them. You never see any of your pictures. Nothing's ever
Uh-huh.
there. If I post anything to do with bear archery in a story, usually within 24 hours, it's in their story,
Oh man,
and
that's
it's
cool.
created a really cool partnership. I don't even know technically who's throwing the pictures up on the story posts or whatever, but it's a cool way to communicate back and forth. Like, hey, we're using your stuff, we love it. It's been phenomenal. And one thing too,
Cool.
like I have my bow always, I was just always crank them up 70 pounds, max them out.
Yeah, that's yeah.
But the last year I was shooting in an indoor league, and I'm, drawing multiple times through the night, 40, 50 times a night. And other guys, I'm watching them and they're just like these real slow, relaxed draw and settle. So finally I asked one of the guys, he's like, oh no, I crank mine down to 50 pounds when I'm here shooting in the league. It's 20-yard league. Like, who cares? So I was like, oh, that's valid.
Yeah.
And so I just cranked mine down to 60
Mm-hmm.
and finished the season up. Well, I realized that a lot of the bad habits that I struggled with were because I had that bow cranked at 70 pounds. Like
Huh.
all these finicky things that I'm doing and a little bit of target panic and all that, when I could just really roll back, settle in. I had more time. I was more consistent. And so I found with the pin gaps that I wanted to have out to 100 yards, it's about 64 pounds
Mm-hmm.
is really a good draw
Huh.
weight. But like, one of the deer I shot this year, I used a decoy and laid in a little brush pile on a fence
Oh, that's
row.
fun.
And so when I drew, it was literally, me drawing like this in a tight space with him right there at eye level.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that if it was at 70 pounds, that I wouldn't have been able to draw as smooth and behind the bow, using the bow as a
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Right.
so that's the reality is every deer I shot this year, the arrow zipped through and stuck in the ground at 64 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
We're at an era where that the technology is pretty slick. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I've
and
really
that
enjoyed.
adapt bow, I was gonna say the
What was that? Bear
Bear
Adapt.
adapt
Yeah, Bear Adapt. Yeah.
that the hunting public are using. That thing's like $450.
Yeah.
Comes loaded, ready to rock. So guys new getting into archery, like you cannot go wrong with a piece of equipment that they're utilizing in some of the most brutal terrains and circumstances and killing
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So the idea that I got to have $1,200-$1,300 bow before I even start with accessories is
Yeah,
kind of
right.
nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. And even like I was looking at the like the feet per second and everything like that, like the specs on the bear bows that are even just the ready to hunt bows. Like there's the legit, there's that came out a few years ago. The Paradox was what Aaron from Hunting Public shot, and I picked that up. But I mean, their specs on are like shooting like 327. I mean, I know you're not actually shooting that when you're drawn, but I mean that's what the specs
IBA.
are. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's great. And I mean, for me, I love it. I love the feel of my bow and everything. So we'll have to tag them in this. We'll tag this, and I'll make sure that Yukon River Dives and Bear bows are in the comments there. So shout out to you, Bear.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so let's. I want to hear about your son's season, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah. So Hudson, my oldest son, Kenton, is a pre-med student at Cornerstone University. And so his hunting and fishing is super limited. But Hudson actually this year started guiding. He trains dogs. And so he's
Oh
trained
wow.
Dakota for upland game. And he started guiding for a group called Thundering Aspens this year. And so um, they're a pheasant preserve, but not like a put in place pheasant preserve. It's, in my opinion, like I've hunted wild birds that were easier to kill than sometimes what at that preserve. But he uses his pup, and then he guides for grouse and woodcock in the um, just all of our northern state land that we have around us. You know, we've got a lot of grouse and woodcock in that area. So
Okay.
that was his focus, and a lot of waterfowl hunting this year. So I don't know exactly how many ducks or grouse or woodcock that we killed, but just an incredibly successful year with those. But there's something really special. Like I obviously have trained my boys in the outdoors, and we value that time and the lessons that we learn together, not just outdoor lessons, but lessons of things that God is teaching us, and the ability for us to even consume this creation that He's created and given us dominion over. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching them, and we're learning ethics, and we're learning all these different things. But there was this special moment this year where Hudson's dog scenario,
Hey, hold up.
and he's
Back up
telling
one
us,
second. You cut out
"Yep,
on me. It's saying my connection's unstable. Go back
okay,
to Hudson's dog, and then we'll pick it up
yeah,
there.
okay." So Hudson's dog is pointing this grouse, and Hudson's in complete control of the scenario. He's telling the dog to whoa, and we're creeping up on it. And when he then says, okay, his dog flushes. And so Dakota jumps in, this grouse flushes, I shoot the grouse. And then the dog runs, retrieves the grouse, brings it back to us, and brings it to hand. There was like a little bit of a passing of the torch. Like, okay, I had nothing to do with training his dog.
Hmm.
That was completely on him, and he's put those extra hours in. But it was like, okay, he's got a piece of proficiency in this outdoor game that I don't have anymore, that he
Man, that's cool.
possesses. And it made it really fun the rest of the year. You know, there were a couple of moments where I'm like, bro, I don't need you to guide me. Just let's go hunt. Let's follow your dog. It's sweet. But that's a sweet moment. He's 19, and just seeing him really fall in love. And he traps a ton of. We've done a lot with the beaver and woodcock, muskrat
Okay.
this year, and he just got back from a coyote predator hunt up in the
Oh,
UP and
fun.
killed a red fox and a couple coyotes. So um, it's always something always going in our
Yeah.
household.
That's so cool. And what a great way to just have father-son moments and discipleship to happen in real life. And the outdoors is just a great thing. I know a lot of folks like love sports, and it's really a both and thing. I mean, you can enjoy
Absolutely.
sports and be outdoors as well. And there's, lessons that, are transferable, but there are some unique things about life and death, even though it's the animal world, about dominion and taking our responsibility to provide that are unique to the outdoor world that are pretty incredible. And so I love seeing that with you and your sons and hearing those stories. It's just pretty cool.
It's awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much again for the time. And for those that are interested in maybe following you on Instagram or reaching out to you about Yukon River Dives or anything else like that, where can we find out more information? And I'll make sure and link that in.
Yeah, so Hunting the Harvest is the Instagram handle. And then yukonriverknives.com, they can order there. If they have any questions, the Yukon River email that's listed there goes directly to myself. Happy to chat with guys. And then if anybody wants a shout out or just even talk about what's going on with the knives, I think that knife is one of the best knives in its class that's made. Like the hunter knife that we use this year. I quartered, skinned, and butchered 11 deer with it just this year. And, there's no sign of wear on that knife. I've got Gerber knives that would never have held up to those, that kind of thing. So it's a fun piece. Like, it's not just, hey, this is a ministry that you get an opportunity to help us support. It's hey, here's a ministry you get to help us support. You get a knife that's an heirloom quality knife to pass down to your kids. It's a sweet piece. So we're pumped to be a part of it and look forward to seeing God use that even in the years to come.
Heck yeah, that steel is like C5, CV5, something like that. It's that really nice
Yep.
steel
Yeah.
that just lasts and it keeps a good edge and it's just really nice. And I've got the small game knife and I've got the Hunter. Hope you guys find a new leather sheath maker as well though, because that leather sheath is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Um,
We actually, I've got a meeting tomorrow with a guy
okay,
that's going to be seeing how he can pull that off for us. So,
very cool. All right,
yeah.
guys, we've been talking to Adam Ray. Adam, appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good to see you again, bud.